Welcome to X's and Omar, presented by Gulfstream Park, alongside Sentinel Dolphins columnist Omar Kelly. I'm CBS 12 Sports Director Matt Lincoln. We are in Hallandale Beach at Gulfstream Park. It's a little overcast here today, but a gorgeous day to be out here to go shopping, get something to eat, come watch a live web show. I mean, what could be better?
More could you want to do? New Year's Eve is coming up.
True.
Unfortunately, I just learned I'll be working on New Year's Eve. When the NFL moved the Dolphins game to 4 o'clock start, that means I'll be walking out of there and probably toasting some champagne to the end of this season.
Oh, well, you could toast it now. You could have toasted it in Kansas City.
Yes.
We've had a season full of a couple surprising wins, some surprising losses. I don't think there was a game all season that went this predictably.
Yes.
As this one did at Kansas City. All the problems, when there have been few bright spots, but when there have been these large down stretches, this is what we've seen the Dolphins do. Fail on third downs, turn the ball over, not create turnovers, penalties, not get in the red zone, poor quarterback play, all these things.
That's the Dolphin season.
That's all, and we saw it all
Struggle
in
against
one
the run.
60 minutes in Kansas City.
Yeah, it was really just a perfect portrait of what the season has been about. I'm not sure Kansas City's that much better than the Dolphins, especially from a talent standpoint, but the Dolphins just looked like they were going through the motions as they have most of the season. I don't know what happened to this team in terms of the level of inconsistency, the level of desire, the motivation. Last year, we gave coaching all the credit for the 10-6 season, all the success that team had, especially with an inferior roster to what they're working with now, and somehow they couldn't produce better than, let's hope, maybe a 7-win season.
And other than the defensive coordinator and half a season with the offensive line coach, most of the coaches
that offensive line coach, that's
a difference. But for the most part, coaching was the same.
Yeah, pretty much. And I really don't think the defense was that great last year, but I thought that what Vance Joseph did was he masked a lot of shortcomings and issues. I'm not sure that Matt Burke is masking those shortcomings and issues, but I really think that the defense has performed this year better than they performed last year. But still, the record and the output is not the same. Now, from a turnover standpoint, probably not on the same level.
Because we gave so much credit to the coaching last year, and the coaching didn't change that much this year, should it change the way that we looked at the coaching last year?
Yes, it should. I gave the coaching staff all the credit. Now I have to give them all of the blame as well. I'm not necessarily certain how much players are being put in position to succeed or how well players are being coached up to be consistent. One of the two things that I've noticed about this season, last year was fueled by accountability. People taking accountability for things that went wrong. Started from the head coach, went to the defensive coordinators, then it went to the players. If something went wrong, players were raising their hands. That's me. I didn't do my job. I can't really tell you if I heard that this season. And then the other issue is the heart, the desire, the determination. Last year, there were a lot of players on that team that were playing for future contracts, playing to get paid. The drive, the hunger, desire, determination was there because they wanted that money. This season, they got that money, and I'm not saying it happened to all of them, but everybody is just playing for the love of the game.
Well, and there were some things that happened early in the season, too, that might have derailed it. We're going to get into that in a little bit, but let's take some of your questions. From Javier, was this Dolphins season a wasted one?
Actually, you know what? I don't think this Dolphins season was a wasted one, and here's my reasoning for that thought. I thought that they would be able to pivot from what they did in 2016 and build a stronger core that could help them make a title run in 2018. Now, based on what they've done this season, I need a rebuild.
Yeah.
I don't think that the framework of what you have as a team is good enough. Not even just to contend with the Patriots. The Patriots are up here. Not even to contend with the Kansas City Chiefs. Not even to contend with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not even to contend with the Houston Oilers with Deshaun Watson. I don't think you're a good football team. And with that with that thought process in mind, if I don't think you're good in the trenches at the offensive line and defensive line, you need to rebuild both. And until you rebuild both, you're going to have the same results.
Well, we've talked about it all season long. You're talking about rebuilding the offensive and defensive line. You don't just press a button and they all just are
Reset.
gone.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, does this mean it's time to get rid of Sue? Does this mean it's time to get rid of Pouncey? Do you need to do? I mean, that's what you're saying. Because you're saying we need to hit rebuild on these two lines. So are we getting rid of these players that are the best players, that are better than marginal players? Do we just get rid of them?
I don't think so. When I say rebuild, I'd say keep the good pieces of that line. And Ndamukong Suh's a good piece of that line.
Team MVP.
Yes, team MVP today. I would have voted for Jarvis Landry, but hey, everybody's, you know, everybody's allowed to do their own thing. Also, you need to, you know, Mike Pouncey. I mean, if there's been one guy who's played at a relatively high level or consistent level, it's been Mike Pouncey. Not every single game, but hell, this is the first time he's played a full 16-game season since 2012. Let's clap it up for him. That's a major accomplishment. That's a building block. He's still under 30. Yes, he's making $8 million, but if you cut him, can you sign a better player for $8 million? And I'm not necessarily certain that you can.
So it's everyone other than Pouncey. We're hitting rebuild. You know, it's Jesse Davis, maybe give him a chance, but basically, and Tunsil's not going anywhere.
Tunsil's not going anywhere, but I think I'm trying to improve the left guard spot. I like Jesse Davis there or either right tackle, but you need two starters on an offensive line. Defensively, that's a harder rebuild because Cameron Wake, he's not getting any younger.
Right.
Hopefully he gets to double-digit sacks by getting one against the Bills. And I think Cameron Wake will, without a doubt, finish his career here. But this season has shown he's a situational player. He is exclusively a pass rusher. You need to get either William Hayes to come back or you need to add another pass rusher, even though you got Charles Harris.
So I think what we need to talk about is what does a rebuild actually mean?
Okay.
Because I think not just in who are the Dolphins going to get rid of, who do the Dolphins not need to keep. I think what we're more talking about is what does the plans need to be going forward?
Absolutely.
You don't go out and you just sign someone like Lawrence Timmons again because he's just a stop. You're talking about bringing in younger players, building younger players, and taking the time to have them grow up. So you wouldn't want to have them be big spenders this offseason.
No, I wouldn't want them to be big spenders.
Next question. It comes from Pete Pablo. It's a big one. Is Adam Gase any better than Queasy Joe? Because if the Dolphins lose, Dolphins go 6-10, that's worse than any of Joe Philbin's seasons when he's coached the whole season.
Absolutely. The question is he worse than Joe Philbin? I would say no from this standpoint. We know he can coach. We know he can motivate. We know he got more out of Ryan Tannehill than Joe Philbin ever was going to do. So that's the starting point. He was hired here to develop a quarterback. Now, whether it be Ryan Tannehill or whoever they select in future drafts, he'll be judged based on that. I forget the Ravens head coach.
John Harbaugh?
No, the one that won the championship.
Billick? Brian
Billick said infamously, and it's become famous, in the NFL, what gets you hired will also get you fired.
Right.
So Adam Gase will ultimately be fired based on how one of these quarterbacks develop. Now, if Ryan Tannehill comes out and he's a consistent 95 quarterback for the rest of his career, props to him. Praise is due. Now, that doesn't mean you'll ever win anything because, hell, Alex Smith is that kind of quarterback, and they've never won anything. But you need to get your quarterback to the point where you can consistently win 10 games, and we're not there yet.
Not there yet. Not even close after this season. No. Douglas do wrong. Which coach, besides O-line coach, do you see being changed in the offseason? Will they get rid of Matt Burke?
I don't think Matt Burke is going anywhere. I can't really put all of the blame for what's happened on this defense on him. Now, have they played up to expectations? Absolutely not. But I will say this. He's had some tough injuries. Remember earlier in the season when me and you were talking, just privately, not this show.
Here?
Not
okay.
here. Yeah. And we would say, William Hayes was my top performer on that defense. This defense is drastically different when William Hayes is not there. And yes, he's not a stat king. He's not a heavy producer, but he kept linebackers free. He kept the edges set. And he just was a key cog. It's not happening. This safety tandem, they're both strong safeties. I'm sorry to break it down to you if you haven't figured it out, but they're both strong safeties. Now, can that work? It can, but you need good cornerbacks to be back there and develop. Now, Xavier Howard still got time to develop. Cordrea Tankersley still has time to develop. Bobby McCain is still developing. Tony Lippett is coming back next year. Maybe next year it will be better. But right now, the pieces just don't work right together. Linebackers, they were the strength of the season earlier in the year. Now they're the weakness. How did that happen?
And, I mean, what do you attribute to the lack of real pass rush from what we expected that to be the best part of this defense?
I stopped expecting that to be the best part of this defense a long time ago.
But at the beginning of the season, that's what we expected.
Andre Branch was battling a growing injury, knee injury. That's medical. A guy who was playing at 100% and maybe could have given you 8 sacks at 100% is not playing at 60 to 70%. It happens. Charles Harris, 2 sacks on the season. Just learning.
Yeah.
He's a baby. The pacifier's still in his mouth. He's still wearing pull-ups. You can't really sit there and judge him based on what he's done this season. But has it been enough? Absolutely not. Then the blitzing from the linebackers. Hell, do you really want them blitzing when they can't cover anybody right now?
No.
It kind of, makes you a little bit uncomfortable.
Sure, queasy even.
Queasy, like Joe. It's just a bad mix. A bad mix of there needs to be one player on that defensive unit that holds it all together like the glue. I thought that player would be Lawrence Timmons, and unfortunately it wasn't.
Deion Jordan, 3 sacks, by the way, this year for the Seahawks.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Deion Jordan, 3 sacks.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
If the Seahawks had Derek Shelby, they would probably have 3 or 4 sacks.
Byron Maxwell with a nice fumble also cost in that game.
Boy, you're just a Seattle
I
lover.
watched some Seattle. Okay. Thank you so much for watching.
Byron Maxwell was not a bad player.
No, he wasn't. And hey, I'll tell you what. If there's one guy who could bat a ball out of a receiver, he can't tackle the guy, can't cover the guy, but he's good at batting that thing out.
He's not trying to tackle the guy.
Right. You are watching X's and Omar presented by Gulfstream Park. We are live here at Hallandale Beach. It's time to talk about everything that went wrong this season, because lots of things went wrong.
It's a laundry list.
Last season too, though.
Yeah, that's true, and they overcame it.
And it held together. This year, not so much. So, Ryan Tannehill, obviously gone in training camp. Raekwon McMillan out early. Tony Lippett out early. William Hayes, Jermon Bushrod, Julius Thomas out early. T.J. McDonald suspended the first half. Larson out half the season. How did all of these personnel hits, how did it affect the team's performance? And can we blame 6 and 9 on those losses?
I think the only player that you can really say, oh, this guy's worth maybe 1, maybe 2 wins if he just all of a sudden is balling out, is Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill, now, I can say candidly, I am the number 2 most critical Ryan Tannehill person in all of America. I sit behind Big O of WQAM. Now, that's because I'm tired of mediocre quarterback play.
Right.
Is Tannehill mediocre? No. Sometimes he is, but he's not mediocre. But he is average.
All right, well, tell me what the difference between mediocre and average is.
Mediocre is Jay Cutler.
Okay.
It's going to be good one game. It's going to be bad one game.
All right.
It's going to, and it averages out to below.
I mean, it's going to be good one game. It's going to be bad 3 games. But keep going.
It's going to be good 2 games. It's going to be bad 3 games.
Okay.
Okay. It's just not good enough to produce a winning team. Tannehill is average.
All right.
He will have highs. He will have lows. But most of the time, he'll be right here in the middle. He's not really going to drive you to win victories, but he's not going to put you in a position where you lose games most of the time. There have been instances where he's thrown 3 interceptions at Jets game in 2013 that kept you out of the playoffs, scarred your memory. But he's good enough. And I can honestly say I have gained a greater appreciation for him this season. I always, since 2012 when he was drafted, was always fascinated and curious about the alternative. If you ask me to this day, right now, after seeing this entire season, based on practices alone, who is the superior quarterback, no question in my mind is Jay Cutler. However, when that game comes in a situation, Jay Cutler gets skittish about being hit. Jay Cutler doesn't read the defenses as well as Ryan Tannehill, which shocked the crap out of me. And Jay Cutler's not going to take care of the ball as well as he should. That makes Ryan Tannehill the better quarterback. Matt Moore, we've seen him win games for the Dolphins, 105 quarterback rating. But what we've also learned is if you consistently ask him to do it, he's not going to consistently be able to do it.
Right.
So I have gained a greater appreciation for Ryan Tannehill. I think he's a factor in the losses, in the fact that maybe he's worth, I'll be generous and say, 2 more wins. That still would have made you, what, a 9-win team or an 8-8 team?
Right.
Now, William Hayes, to me, no doubt in my mind, he's worth a victory, if not 2, because he made, notice, I wish I could give you the numbers. There's a drastic difference in this defense with a healthy William Hayes and then without a healthy William Hayes. It's not even the same. So, to me, he's an important piece to re-sign. He's a 30-year-old run-stopping specialist who likes South Florida. Give him that $4 million deal. Let's call it a day and make sure he's a priority to re-sign. If there's anybody behind Jarvis Landry as a priority to re-sign, it's him. Now, and then Raekwon McMillan, the only thing significant about that loss is the developmental time. Just like Xavier Howard, we saw him start to play up to his level at the end of this season because that was really his rookie year. Well, Raekwon McMillan is going to get a redo of his rookie year, and we're probably not going to get the best out of him until maybe 2019.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the other big move that happened in the middle of the season. That was trading Jay Ajayi. The two big parts of this offense that we thought were going to make this offense go, Jay Ajayi was traded midseason, and Devante Parker, who we never really saw. Obviously, Landry's Landry, we know what to expect, but if this was going to take this next step, we expected it to be those 2 guys. We didn't get those 2 guys. How big was that to these offensive woes?
I think Jay Ajayi, and this is going to be hard for people to understand, I think he was holding this offense back.
Yeah.
He needed to be the every down back. Then he needed this amount of touches. Then he needed to be put in this situation. Then he needed to have a day off from practice. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
It's like that needy girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know,
no matter how hot she is, eventually it's just.
Eventually it's just
enough.
like, yeah, that's enough. We've seen now with Kenyan Drake, production-wise, heading into the Kansas City game, he was the 5th most productive back in starts in the NFL. 123 yards contributing per game. I think that you're going to be good with Kenyan Drake. I don't know if I'm going to draft one, but you're going to be good with Kenyan Drake. And I don't think there's much of a drop-off from Kenyan Drake to Jay Ajayi. Props to Jay Ajayi. He's taking his team to the playoffs. He's an important piece.
He was on the ride. He didn't take them to the
All
playoffs.
right. Yes. Okay. You're right.
He was on for the ride.
I mean, he's a starter now. You know, on a good team.
Sure.
Don't be jealous.
Yeah. That's going to be out pretty quickly with the quarterback.
Hey, you don't believe in Nick
have.
Foles?
I do not believe in Nick Foles. What about Parker?
It hurts your heart. And it hurts my heart.
Sure.
But he worked so hard.
Yeah.
To put
he
himself,
did seem like a different guy.
He worked so hard to put himself in position to have a breakout year. 1 ankle injury.
Yeah.
And he's tried. He's fought. He's fought back. He's on the field. He's contributing. Is he a dynamic player? No. Will he ever be a dynamic player? Probably not. I see Kenny Britt. There's nothing wrong with Kenny Britt. You can win with Kenny Britt. Kenny Britt might be a significant contributor to the Patriots later on in the playoff run.
But Kenny Britt would be the 3rd best receiver on this team. He'd be the 3rd best receiver
What's Devante Parker? The 3rd best receiver on this team.
That's not what people thought. That's not what we all thought / hoped.
You got hoodwinked.
Even expected. Okay.
Here's my thing about Devante Parker. And I think there's a potential for him to have a breakout season if he stays fully healthy. Who stays fully healthy? I remember talking to Jarvis Landry, and I was like, I gave him his props. I'm like, dude, Jarvis Landry, if you haven't realized this, he's played every single game for 16 seasons.
For 16 games for 4 seasons.
Yeah, 16 games for 4 seasons. You know how hard that is?
Yeah. At that position, with the hits he takes?
At the style of play? And he said to me, I'm always hurt.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between hurt and injured.
Yeah.
And I'm going to fight. And I'm not saying that Devante Parker doesn't have that fight or doesn't want to fight, but can't stay healthy. Sometimes it's just not in your DNA.
Let's talk about your favorites topic.
The Fat Boys.
Let's talk more about the offensive line. So it's been a roller coaster with those guys. And but we have Jesse Davis, we have some Sam Young, we have some guys here playing all right towards the end of the year. What's your thought with those guys up front?
This is what I take away from what I've seen from the offensive line this year. Jesse Davis, who I said from day one should have been starting, is starting, and he's shown you that you can develop young players if they do the right things. Jesse Davis did the right thing. He got stronger, and he's become a very solid and reliable starter. He's my starter in Penn moving forward next year. Now, Sam Young has taught me that Juwan James, just all right. There's nothing special about Juwan James, and you know, I wish that a first-round talent was special, and I think last year he was a force in the run game. This year, not so much.
Yeah.
And injuries probably played a factor in it, and now he's got the opportunity to get healed. I don't know what's going to happen with his fifth-year option. $9.3 million for Juwan James, who would make him the third highest paid right tackle in the NFL. I'm not paying that. No offense to Juwan James, but that's a lot of money.
Sure.
So, Sam Young, I'm definitely making sure I re-sign. I don't want him as my starter. Jesse Davis is going to be my starter, and I have a great deal of respect for what Ted Larson has done in the second half of the season. He's helped Laremy Tunsil stabilize.
Let's talk about Tunsil for a second. Because
wrote a column about him in Sun Sentinel.
I didn't read it.
Thanks for being honest.
It was obvious last year that there was a connection with Tunsil and Brandon Albert. They had that kind of mentor-mentee relationship. At some point in a guy's career, he goes from young guy, he goes to vet. Young guy to the guy. Laremy Tunsil not ready to become the guy.
Correct.
Year 2. Is it something in him that you see that he can turn around and become the guy in a year? And is that really what the problem was? No BA, no leader, still trying to figure out, is he a young guy? Is he the guy?
I think the trust in that left guard playing next to him impacted him, or the lack of trust. I think he's shown you that he can dominate, he can play well against some dominant players. The question is, can he do it consistently? And I, for the column, which you didn't read, you know, I understand line play because you know I love it.
Yeah.
And it's hard to understand. In the NFL, an offensive lineman plays 60 snaps. Now, every player has 5 bad snaps. Yeah. Every player. If an offensive lineman has 5 bad snaps, he's wrecked the game.
Sure. Yeah, the game's over, right. Sacks and all
you're
sorts.
Killing third down drives. You're making the team play on 2nd and 14. You're getting false starts. It's now 3rd and 15. This quarterback sack, you can put the quarterback out the game. So 5 bad plays for an offensive line is tragic.
Right.
Now, Tunsil, for most of the season, has had 5 bad plays. Now, he's gotten to the point with Ted Larson in there that he's had 2 bad plays a game. And that's workable. So I think it's very important that he has a veteran left guard playing next to him. And I think that makes a huge difference.
All right, let's take more of your questions. This one's from Clifford. Great QBs turn teams around. Look at Philly and San Francisco. Please push the Dolphins to draft a quarterback in the 1st round. I like the crop of college quarterbacks this year. Do you?
There are going to be 6 college quarterbacks that are probably pushed up into the top 50 selections, selected in the 2nd round. That means that this is going to be, and I haven't looked at most of these guys, good year to select a quarterback. If you like one, take one. Notice what I said.
If
you
you
like
like one,
one, take one. Don't matter who you like. Just like Kansas City, which is starting Patrick Mahomes this week, they have Alex Smith, who would have went to the Pro Bowl last year if he wasn't hurt. They drafted one in the first round already. And let's not be a liar to ourselves. The truth is, Alex Smith played at a high level because he knows his replacement's right there.
Right.
If you like one, take one. And I personally believe Ryan Tannehill needs some competition. He's never had it. Mm-hmm. Never. When I say never, I mean never. And maybe competition will bring out the best in him.
Well, that's great that you think that.
Uh-huh.
But what do you think Adam Gase thinks?
We'll really learn that based on what they do with Matt Moore. Because Matt Moore, he's shown you he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Matt Moore loves living here in South Florida. It's close to California. So unless a California team wants to sign Matt Moore's probably coming back here for $2.5 million and to be the backup, not put any pressure on Ryan Tannehill. It's a comfortable living for Matt. Now, if they re-sign him, then that's what they want to do, and they probably won't go draft a young quarterback early. If they do sign him, then you'll probably wait a little bit till later rounds to do it.
All right, next question from Kevin. What happens to Kiko Alonso this offseason?
Absolutely nothing will happen to Kiko Alonso because $7.9 million of his contract, which he was given this year in part of his 4-year, $29 million deal, is fully guaranteed. When the money is fully guaranteed, that means the player's yours.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
Nah.
Okay, question from Joe W. Should Lawrence Timmons be benched? He's been making business decisions for weeks.
Now, Joe W. is, for those who don't know, is one of my favorite Twitter followers.
All right.
I've actually forced him to get on Twitter. Joe W. puts together my draft board. So, when Joe W. says something, it's got some validity to it.
All right.
I can honestly tell you, I have not looked at the film thoroughly enough to see Lawrence Timmons making business decisions. But is he all in on this season? No. And
if there's been anyone who hasn't been all in since the start, it was Lawrence Timmons.
It's the guy who went
gone.
AWOL in the season opener. Yes. And I think I have a great deal of respect for Lawrence Timmons. I don't know what's going on in his life. I don't know where his heart is. You know, maybe he's got some situations back home with his family that has his focus. And I want the best for him. I'm a fan of Lawrence Timmons. And when he was good, he was good. Well, he hasn't been good for a while, and this defense has been just okay.
Well, that leads us into this next conversation. You are watching X's and Omar presented by Gulfstream Park. There's one game left. It means nothing in terms of the standings. They're now the Dolphins are now officially eliminated. It is over.
Yeah.
So what should they do here? I mean, should they be playing these guys? Should Lawrence Timmons play? Should Jay Cutler play? Should they be playing all of these young guys to just get them reps, to just get them game experience? What should they do in this last game?
This is a tough one for me because, as most people know, I hate the Buffalo Bills. Bills Mafia, you suck. You're my least favorite people in the NFL. I don't like your city. My rivalry with the Bills is just as strong as the team's rivalry with the Bills. This Dolphins team hates the Bills. Of all the teams in the AFC East, they have a problem with the Bills #1, the Jets #2, and then the Patriots. Kind of hard to have a problem with a bully. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I will say this.
I think you're fine, Bills fans. Just to let you know, it's only this part.
That's not what he says when the cameras are off.
It's not true.
But
yes. I mean, is that really a motivator? I mean,
I want to spoil their season.
Omar
I want to spoil their season.
Okay.
However,
there's lots of other things that can happen.
However, and I take this from, this is the one thing I've ever taken from Joe Philbin. One of his biggest regrets as a coach was at the end of the year when he had nothing to play for, he didn't play the players that he needed to have a thorough evaluation for. Stephon Anthony needs to play. Isaac Asiata needs to play. Vincent Taylor just went on IR, but, you know.
Theoretically, he would have had to play.
Cameron Malvex.
Malvo?
Malvex, the defensive end.
Yeah.
Needs to play. Torrey McTyer Torrey McTyler. Yeah, whatever his name.
I think it's Tyre.
See, these are the young guys. The JD, the tight end, the guy Darby, the AJ
Derby.
AJ
You are
Derby.
missing every one of these
because they're not significant players. However,
David Fales.
Hell no.
Okay.
I don't need to see David Fales.
All right.
Put Jay Cutler there because you know, my priority for that game, get Jarvis Landry 1,000 yards.
Okay.
I'm be real with you. You want Jarvis Landry to be re-signed? Do him a solid.
Yeah.
Kenyan Drake needs to play. And I'm talking 30 carries. You need to see what you got. And Marquise Gray needs to play. You need to understand what you have coming back. You do. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have a thorough and fair and accurate evaluation of your roster, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. They don't know by now?
No.
Shouldn't they know
Clearly
by now?
they don't. Because if they did, they would have done things differently. Did you have a thorough and accurate evaluation of your offensive line?
You apparently did not.
And what about your tight end situation? Because, woo, that's a tough one right there.
It's better than Jordan Cameron.
Yeah, hey.
Next question. Let's take from Bradley. Can we trust the front office to actually draft the right players to fix the issues? Isn't it worth saying that not every front office...
They don't hit. Everybody doesn't hit.
Not everyone's going to hit for everyone.
If you get 3 solid starters out of a draft pick, that's a great draft.
So last year was it?
I don't remember who the draft picks in last year's draft.
Cordray Tankersley.
No. Oh, you mean this year?
Yeah.
Cordray Tankersley, Davin Godchow. That's 2.
Okay.
And the year before that, Kenyan Drake now. Who's the number one? Oh, Laremy Tunsil.
Laremy Tunsil.
And I think there's another one in there somewhere. Yeah. But no. It's okay.
Right.
And do I trust Chris Greer? Yes. And I trust that he's learned from his mistakes as well. I trust it. And remember when I did that column on Jeff Ireland, you didn't read that one either.
I read that one.
Okay. On Jeff Ireland and Spielman, that was a tough column to write because what I was saying is these guys grew and learned from their mistakes and became better executives. I want Chris Greer to have that opportunity to learn from his mistakes and become a better executive. The Lawrence Timmons move probably was a mistake. Mm-hmm. You learned from it, didn't you?
Yeah. Hopefully you learned something from the Julius Thomas mistake.
Oh, God. Hope, yeah. Selecting Davin Godchow. That was applause to you. You learned from that, didn't you?
Yeah.
So let's build off what we learned from. Now, the books, that's an interesting discussion. I think we'll address that in the next situation.
We've got a question right now.
Okay.
From Nate. What are the 3 boldest moves or changes the Dolphins need to make this offseason? Boldest.
Well, I think the boldest thing that you're going to have to do is that you're going to have to transition tag Jarvis Landry just to prevent him to other teams or try to prevent other teams from bidding on him. You need Jarvis Landry back here for 1 season. If you transition tag him for $11 million, you'll have paid him $12 million for 2 years. That's not bad, right?
Sure, yeah.
It makes sense. Now, does it solve your problem of Jarvis Landry probably being pissed off that you keep not messing with his money?
Right.
No, but transition tag him, work on a long-term deal. To me, that's the boldest move. But also, I'm making a couple of other bold moves. Releasing Julius Thomas. That's not a bold move.
No.
I'm sorry. Julius Thomas sucks. I've said it from the beginning of the season.
2 weeks, yes.
I say it at the end of the season. He's not good anymore. He's lost his step. Maybe he was good 3 years ago. He's slow now. Can't create separation. Not the athlete he once was. He's like an aged basketball player, he was a basketball player. It just doesn't move the same anymore. So I'm cutting him. I'm saving $6.6 million. The next release that I'm making, Juwan James on that 5th-year option. Sorry, bro. Maybe I try to re-sign you for $6 million a year. Maybe I give you $18 million guaranteed to come on back, but I'm not paying you half of 18 in 1 year. I'm being competitive bidding for you, but that 5th-year option, not getting it. And so that'll allow him to be an unrestricted free agent. He gets to go wherever he wants, gets to go to the highest bidder. You're probably going to lose him because it's not like he's chopped liver.
Well, yeah, but there's 2 things I think that comes out of that too, is that we know how Adam Gase prioritizes spending money on offensive linemen.
He doesn't.
He doesn't.
Okay.
And we know what he thinks about Juwan James. He doesn't like him.
All right. But here's the bottom line. When you make those two cuts, just those two decisions, Juwan James, Julius Thomas, and then you pair it with the $16 million the Dolphins will likely have in cap space going into next season because the cap is going up, that gives me $32 million to work with. Now, you can't ball hard on $32 million, but you can make smart, appropriate moves. You can re-sign Jarvis Landry. You can add a couple of pieces that will make your team better. You can re-sign key pieces like Michael Thomas and Damian Williams to continue this play on special teams that you're getting. And it's okay. It's an okay offseason. This isn't the year to be aggressive in the offseason. Just my personal take.
Okay. Next question from Dolphin Spence. True or false? Jakeem Grant secured his 2008 roster spot with his performance against Kansas City.
Absolutely.
Okay, listen.
Go ahead.
No one is a bigger critic.
Yes, I own that number one spot.
Than this guy. But even you.
I own that number one spot.
Had to feel good for the young man for that touchdown. Because that was, that's a football play. That's a 5'7", 150 whatever pound dude.
He's 165.
Making a real
football play.
Legitimate football play in a game where like none of the Dolphins were making football plays.
Uh-huh.
Give it up for the young man.
I now finally believe that Jakeem Grant is an NFL player.
Hey!
It's only
Where are
taken
the
me
banners?
2 years.
Don't we have banners?
Yeah.
Confetti?
Jakeem Grant is about this big.
He's a little guy. But you know what? That's a great play.
The speed is there. They've always talked about, oh, we wish we could get him in, we wish we could get him in, we wish we could get him in, and they never get him in.
Yeah.
Now there's a speed package with Kenyan Drake, and they space the field, and you get defenses have to pick. Oh, are we gonna put focus on Kenyan Drake, or are we gonna give Jakeem Grant isolated one-on-one in space? All right, let Jakeem do his thing, and Jakeem has done his thing.
Yeah.
I hope you pay attention to this. Maybe we can end our beef. I doubt it, but maybe.
All right. We got one last game to talk about. And I think you're one up on picks.
Am I?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
do you want to go first or do you want to go last?
Well, I don't want to be. I mean, there's no way I'm picking the Dolphins to win this game.
Are you serious? Okay. Didn't we tie last year?
No, I won last year.
You did not win.
I did.
We got to check
I
that.
beat everyone. I beat everyone last year.
No way.
Yeah, that's true.
I believe I was the king.
No. But you pick whoever you want to pick, but I'm telling you there's no chance I'm picking the Dolphins to win this game.
I'm going to pick the Dolphins.
Okay.
Adam Gase is a better coach than what he's shown this season. I think they will want to end it on a high note in front of their home fans. These fans really deserve a victory. They've played so much better at home. I'm going to go with a 21-17 Dolphins victory. Dolphins finally get Tyrod Taylor on the ground on a couple of these sacks and seal the victory.
All right. I'm going to take a 23-12 Bills victory.
All right. We'll see where that leaves us. We will be back here next week, next Wednesday, here at Gulfstream Park.
Talk about a lot of these same things again.
1 o'clock. We won't be talking about a game, but we will be wrapping up the season.
All right. If you've been watching us live, you can hang on and stick with us for X's and Omar Overtime coming up next. Thanks for watching. This is an X's and Omar Overtime presented by Gulfstream Park. Question from Chris. Will Ryan Tannehill ever win a playoff game?
Absolutely, at some point for some team.
as a member for the Miami Dolphins?
I don't know about all that. We'll ask me back in 2018 when we see the development. He was showing you that he was getting there to like a 95 rated quarterback. Let's see if he has his weapons back, because they could neuter him like they did, like Washington did Kirk Cousins, and let all his weapons go get away.
Right. So 53. You want to give him a full 53 weeks to figure this out?
Yeah.
Okay. El Cid. Let's see. We answered a lot of these already.
Matthew Miller, what's your opinion on Charles Harris this season? My opinion is he's a linebacker who's being asked to play defensive end in a 4-3 defense when he really fits into a 3-4 defense.
There you go. So he's a young guy who can't play the position that he's being asked to play.
And you drafted him that way.
And you drafted him. In fact, reached a little bit for him. Great.
Yes.
Great. El Cid, do the Dolphins need to add another linebacker, or is this Timmons' return as a 2-down starter?
I don't know if Timmons is going to be returning. I honestly don't know if he voided next year's contract next year's contract is fully guaranteed. I don't know if he voided it when he went AWOL.
Okay. Right, yeah, we talked about
that's
right.
something technical that I have to talk to agents and people in the league about. However, I do believe that you need to add another linebacker. Wade McMillan is coming back. Maybe he worked well with Kiko Alonso. Maybe Stephon Anthony takes the next step. But, hell, you've already seen you need like 5 linebackers to make it through a season.
Sure. All right. Next question comes from Jimmy. If the Dolphins don't re-sign Landry, how likely would the Pats sign him?
Sign who?
Landry.
I don't think the Pats are likely to sign him from this standpoint. Pats don't pay top dollar.
Yeah.
Jarvis Landry wants $14 million a year. He wants his money.
Sure.
He wants his money, believes he deserves his money. He is not signing a contract that will pay him like the #1 slot receiver in the NFL, which is about $11 million a year. Somehow these two teams are going to have to meet. Jarvis's camp, Dolphins, they're going to have to meet in the middle. 14, 11, the right number is 12.5.
I keep saying he's going to wind up in San Francisco. I think that's the team that needs him, and I think they're up
that's
and
a
coming.
good. That's a good fit right there.
He works so great for
That's
Garoppolo.
a good fit.
I think they pay him.
Chef Bird says Gase, Tannenbaum, Chris Greer are failing their ownership and their fans. They can't evaluate QB talent properly, which is true. They can't evaluate linebacker talent properly, which is true. They seem to think they can win with patchwork offensive line every year, which is true. They're ruining Sue, Wake, Rashad Jones's legacy. When does this stop? I'm going to put that on you.
Does it stop? It never stops. It never stops. Do you know that Rashad Jones is 3rd all-time in the Dolphins in tackles?
What?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
He's been here for a while.
I know. He is like
3rd all-time. And this
defender.
is his second 100-tackle season. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Zach Thomas is #1. Who's #2?
I don't remember.
Gotcha.
Sorry. But I know he's 3rd.
Okay, answer the question. Don't just throw that.
I have no idea.
He just deflected by throwing a nugget of information there that was like, oh, that's interesting. You didn't answer the question. When will this stop?
Breakfast. Burritos for breakfast doesn't want us to really answer that question. He just wants us to read the question. He doesn't want us to answer the question.
It was a good question because all the things
when
that he
does
said.
it stop? I don't know. Do you know when it stops?
Okay. He said, let's thoroughly evaluate this. He said they can't evaluate QB talent properly. That's true, but neither can 28 teams in the NFL.
Sure.
Okay. They can't evaluate linebacker talent properly. I don't know if that's absolutely true because the only 2 linebackers that they've added to the teams is really, one's not playing in Raekwon McMillan, one Kiko Alonso in the trade, and then Lawrence Timmons was a signing that worked early, didn't work,
Sure.
So the talent is there at Lawrence Timmons. He's got other issues going on. So I don't know if that's a fair assessment. Patchwork offensive line, hell yeah, that's accurate. That's been my #1 complaint about this organization. If you do not play well on the offensive line, you're putting pressure on your quarterback. You're holding back your run game. You're putting pressure on your defense because you can't stay on the field. Get your line better, your team will be better. It's a simple formula for me. Look what the Jacksonville Jaguars have done.
3 words.
What's that?
Unicorns. Done.
Thank you.
Unicorns.
Jordan, I'll just say Jordan. Do you think the defense was below average because Matt Burke or because the players did not perform well? I feel like we had less talent with Vance Joseph at the helm. That is accurate. They had less talent with Vance Joseph at the helm. They were working with a patchwork defense, and they were opportunistic.
Yeah.
Because they weren't really good. They just got turnovers. They made big plays when it counted. This defense, they're horrible in the red zone.
Yeah. Well, it's true. And remember, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Cam Wake, after one of the games, said, it was very telling. He said this was, even though the defense is a little bit better this year, it was much more frustrating because last year they knew what they weren't good at, stopping the run. And they could go game plan knowing that they weren't going to be able to stop the run.
Correct.
This year it was, who knows? I mean, who knows?
We don't know what's not going to show up today.
Didn't know what was going to show up every day.
Inconsistency. It's been the storyline of the entire season, and it's on Adam Gase to fix that. You got to figure out a way to make your team more consistent. I don't know if he's tried everything. He's honestly tried everything, except for disciplining his players and, trading away players and really disciplining.
I'll say this too. I mean, we talk about inconsistency, but there was a lot of really bad. I mean, there were more games this year that were just total blanks. The Ravens game, the Panthers game, the first Jets game,
New Orleans.
the Saints
don't forget
game,
New Orleans.
the Patriots game on the road, blanks. Didn't come out playing well, didn't come out well in the second half, nothing.
Played undisciplined, no penalties. You're right.
There's a lot of consistently terrible.
Yeah. That's
that
it.
it?
That's
Are we
it.
good?
That's it.
That's
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching X's and Omar presented by Gulfstream Park. We will be back to wrap up the season even more next year. Hopefully they'll give us something good to talk about in the Bills game this week. Thank you so much for watching.
See you in 2018.